What's up, Dune Spice Wars? It's FitzBro, and we've got community update number 2 coming out for Dune Spice Wars with a slew of balance changes, updates, bug fixes, and a lot to unpack. If you haven't checked out the channel already, I do have a review for this game. If you thought about picking it up, it is Shiro Games' latest RTS 4X strategy game, and it's quite fun to play. I've been enjoying it, and so much so I decided to pick up the Dune book myself. So let me know in the comments section, have you actually read the Dune series? I came into Dune for the very first time with Spice Wars, and then I watched the movie, and now I'm decided to try to read the book. So given that attempt, let me know if you've given that a try and or are currently reading the book right now. But let's dig into these updates. There's a lot of them. Now I understand most of them, but I'll be honest, there's going to be a few that I would need to double check and reference things in games, and there's just so many that it would take a long time. So feel free to leave additional explanations of anything that you think I might misunderstand here in these patch notes. But let's get into this. So this is Friday, July the 29th, and we have community update number 2. I was kind of hoping we would see the new faction House Carino dropped. Like, I thought that was it was going to be our next thing we were going to receive. Maybe I misinterpreted some of the communication around the updates. But either way, we've got a huge balance change, and I'm sure that new faction is around the corner. This update brings a lot of changes to balancing, follows the various feedback and suggestions of the community. They are very good, by the way. If you have joined the official Dune Discord, they have sections for upvoting issues, downvoting, like really good for taking feedback, and I've really commended the dev team for that so far. Okay, economy. Spice tax increases faster overall. Your spice production will no longer be taken into account as much as it previously was. So it sounds like the tax is going to be more expensive, which I already thought could be sometimes this felt like a snowballing thing. Like if you fell behind, those tax kept just getting higher and you just were even further behind. On the other side, somebody told me you could actually play without gathering any spice because your taxes would increase. I don't know how true that was, but so it sounds like they are making spice the taxes increase faster. The first tax has been decreased to compensate for this change. Okay, the Fremen now starts with 20 units of spice, so very specific there as far as your opening spice with Fremen. Not paying the tax as the Fremen now reduces authority and intel production, as well as lowering your chom exchange rate. So I think this is because the penalties for not paying your taxes were typically a lower Landsraad standing that would go down, and Fremen don't have a Landsraad standing. They're not voting. They don't get extra votes. They're using their intel for everything. So this is instead going to impact their authority intel. I think is the kind of their desire of that, because I've heard that technically people were like not even paying their taxes. So pay your taxes. Military. Unit models should follow their movements much more efficiently, resulting in more responsive feeling, better handling of units at high speed. They should also change their formation's direction more efficiently. So I think that's going to be kind of a look and feel of the game. Now, I saw this update. Military units now consume less supply at night. I'm assuming this is this specifically talking about smugglers? Like they show a picture of smugglers who have like those bonuses at night? Or is all military gonna have less supply at night? But maybe that's just for everyone. It's kind of what it seems like, which is a major change, right? Maybe this is going to encourage attacks during the nighttime. Maybe you're actually going to, maybe as smugglers, perhaps you were already planning to take those major engagements during the nighttime because of some of those bonuses. But now you're gonna have less supply drain as far as in the nighttime. You can see that there. Okay, so they'll change to military and supply drain. Stealth units are detected from different ranges depending on the day-night cycle. So there's people complaining about not being able to detect stealth adequately, and this should hopefully help with that. Looks like during the day you're going to see them from further away, and at night it'll be closer, which I kind of like that they're digging into this day and night mechanic as far as like really being a playable part of the game. So I'd kind of ignored it largely, but maybe I have to pay more attention to it. Military units now resupply while in shuttles or worm riding. So I've actually wondered, like if I was in the middle of the desert about to lose my units and I used my thumper to worm ride. I play mostly Fremen. would that resupply them? And it sounds like this would in this case. So that's going to be, I guess, a nice little change there. Balanced military unit stats and costs. Command points have been changed around. More command points at the beginning, less at the end. Elite units are going to cost less. It looks like one less command point. The demo unit is going to cost more command points. So there's been issues with people just stacking up demo units. So that's going to be becoming more expensive. They've looks like they nerfed the unit HP and power and increased the command points. So it's a huge nerf for the demo units. For entry level gained, units now gain an additional armor point. Oh, for each level. So they're going to get additional armor when they are leveling up. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes the power of your units around the armor. Building health and armor has been increased. Missile batteries and main bases now decrease armor. Okay, so I don't know. I think missile batteries are already like a pain in the ass. Like they really could do a ton of damage, and if you're getting depending on how your tiles spawn, like you can be in like some weird spot where you got to attack through like 3 adjacent tiles that have missile batteries on them. This could be very interesting to see. It seems like the missile batteries kind of been buffed a little bit, but at the same time, like they do sustain damage to very weak units. But it also feels like missile batteries sometimes would feel useless. So for how expensive they are, I don't know. It's probably worth it. Units that are both stealth and melee have a speed bonus while in combat. Okay. Stealth and melee. Okay, that'll be I like to use a lot of stealth units. I like to use those infiltrators. That could be kind of fun. A speed bonus while in combat. So they don't have armor, so it's really easy. They're very squishy, so maybe that'll help you get away when you're in combat. Doesn't say how much though. Mercenary upkeep has been increased 30 to 40 Solari. So it's going to cost more for those mercenaries. Stealth drones and combat drones range have been reduced. So those are going to be those drones that I believe largely the Atreides and the Harkonnen have. I think they're the only ones that access the drones, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to have less range. Harkonnen's Cerberus's effect has been replaced. This is interesting. They now split into 3 units when they reach 10% HP. So I'm assuming it's this one right here. So that's going to be a crazy little change to the Harkonnen units. I feel like their units are always adapting and changing, but there you go. A nice little grainy visualization for you. They didn't turn on 4K before they got that screenshot. Okay, villages. New UH buildings for smugglers. Underworld headquarters for smugglers, and siege settlement buildings for the Fremen, because the Fremen can build the siege settlements later on in the game, right? With their allied sieges. Settlement buildings for Fremen affects allies. So they've got different stuff to really promote the team gameplay. Now, I haven't played a ton of team gameplay myself. Let me know if you've played a little bit of team game down in the comments. I've mostly been doing like the 4-person FFA has kind of been my favorite mode. Just because like in the team game, you really like... It's you fighting this other faction versus like doing some more of the diplomacy and like give and take things, which I really like about this game. Villages can be abandoned if they're under rebellion. Village trait supply cache has been removed. Okay, I don't think I really used that a whole lot. Oh, the village trait. Okay. Construction time for buildings has been increased. It takes less time to demolish a building, so I guess it's easier to like if you want to switch up what you got, it'll go away quicker when you demolish it. Militia costs more manpower. Now I think this is interesting because I feel like militia overall underperform. But maybe that's not always the case. Like there's some factions like the Harkonnen who end up with like a bunch of militia early on, and it's like, yeah, they can just instantly repop those puppies. But yeah, the increasing the manpower of militia, this is an interesting change, one that kind of stood out to me on my first glance. The Fremen harvesting tent construction time has been decreased, so you're going to be able to get the harvesting tent up faster. Increased armor for Fremen harvesting team, so less likely to get, I guess, ganked by some units. You can now build in devastated villages. So a devastated village, that's going to be... I think that is devastated specifically when it's been nuked. I believe that's what devastated is. I don't think that's pillaged village. But maybe that is devastated. I can't remember. I'd have to double check on that one. But you can now build in devastated villages. Missile batteries are disabled when a village has been devastated. This could be pillaged, possibly. I think maybe is that what is devastated also means. I would have to review that. Freeing a village gives authority. Okay, so when you liberate a village, that's going to give you authority, which should help you capture other ones. Authority can become really hard to get, especially when you're trying to make like a conquest across the map. So I think this is a nice little change. As you free villages, get some additional authority. Maybe you could take over a village and have a little forward base. Research centers upkeep has been increased. Okay, so those research centers, it's going to be, so that's going to disincentivize booming towards tech, or at least slow it down a little bit, which I kind of like doing sometimes. Reduce the time it takes to use the Atreides peaceful annexation. So you're gonna be able to annex faster. I thought Atreides annexation was already pretty dang good. I wonder what other changes they might be getting. It's good, but it's gonna be even faster now, I guess, for the Atreides. Harkonnen oppression debuff has been increased from 2 to 3 days for that debuff. So that's gonna be a little bit of a nerf there for the Harkonnen. Okay, on to the headquarters. Underworld headquarters are faster to install. I thought they were already really fast. Reduce the number of underworld headquarters building slots available in villages and in main bases. Interesting. So they want you to have less stacks of them, I guess. Installation prices have changed. Upkeep no longer costs Solari. It costs authority. That's really a big change for smugglers, because Solari, you typically have extra of that laying around. Authority can be quite the limiting factor. So it's going to make you, I think, be a little more purposeful with where you put this underworld headquarters. Underworld headquarter buildings now have a greater Solari upkeep, but take half as much time to be built. So it looks like, wait, underworld headquarter buildings, greater Solari upkeep. Okay, so there's actually buildings in there. Okay, makes sense. But yeah, little changes to UHQ. If you've played Smugglers, I played a decent amount of Smugglers. Challenging faction, but I think very good if you know what you're doing with them. Spying. So some fun changes here to spying. I kind of like balanced spy missions, speed and cost. There are now 4 assassination missions. I think there was 3 before, so now there's only 4. Counter intel doesn't give command points anymore. So before, you could put your agents on counter intel at the very top, and you could also get some additional command points, but it doesn't, which I don't know if it's because they've rebalanced the command points. Maybe that's going to make up for it. Agents on Shome slots now earn more Solari. Spying slots in enemy factions are unlocked by completing the first 2 assassination missions for the spying slots in enemy factions. Very interesting. By doing the 2 assassination missions, the Sook Doctors have been buffed 2 to 5% extra knowledge per infiltration level. So that's this agent trait. So just a little change to that specific agent. More information on what is unlocked through the various infiltration levels. Level 2 infiltration now lets you see the location of the faction's agents, which I think is very interesting. You can see where they're placing their agents, which is going to give you a lot of intel about what they are doing. So it truly is spying, taking that spying to the next level. Level 3 infiltration now allows you to see the faction's unit composition, as well as its operations that are being ready to be launched. So you're going to know exactly what they've got sitting there, if they've got a nuke waiting for you, if they are saving up assassination missions, have poison reserves, whatever it might be. So yeah, I really like these changes. I think they're really cool. Estimated time until the next infiltration is reached is now provided. So gives you a little better idea of when you're going to get to those infiltration levels. And now they've made it so you really have to have kind of like 1-to-1 agent to get infiltration levels. Because before you could kind of scheme the system by hopping your agents around, and you could have level 2 of like 2 different things if you hopped them correctly, as it was like the bar was sliding down. They made it so you have to keep X agents in the slot to remain at infiltration level X. So kind of like a 1-to-1 like level to agent ratio. Combat drugs no longer reduces the unit's supply. It only slightly reduces the unit's health over time in exchange for higher speed and power. So, I mean, think about the faction's going to be using that's going to be the Harkonnen. That means they're going to be getting, they're not going to be losing their supply, just their health in exchange for that speed and power over time. Nuke damage has been reduced. So I think that means specifically, I think that's particularly responding to nuking, as you can see there, a player's headquarters. But I don't know. I honestly didn't think it did a whole lot of damage in the first place. Like, I didn't find people's main bases being nuked a ton. It's usually your units or your build, like your villages, and I imagine it's still total annihilation when you get hit with a nuke there. So I think this is probably specifically to your capital. I don't know. I didn't see people using a ton of them on the capitals in the first place. Like, yes, you can, and yes, you can take some damage, as you can see there. But, you know, that is going to be changed. Maybe there's some players that found a way to abuse that. Developments. The trees have been reorganized. So they'd already been reorganized before, but it looks like they've been reorganized again. So if you look very closely there, it's going to be hard for me to zoom in, but your favorite techs have all been just moved around just a little bit. Oh, look at this. Now the military is in the top right. The economy, they like flipped this entire thing around. Why did they do this? This is it's just very interesting decision. So I think this maybe is like kind of like hint. This is the order you should kind of go in. Is like these are all your eco ones you usually want first. Then you usually want some of these and maybe like that, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they just no rhyme or reason. This is interesting, but they have flopped this around, so you'll notice that as you play. Spy logistics, stealth gear, and Atreides delegations have been reworked. Didn't really see a whole lot what those are. Gridix playing now gives 10% plus 10% CHOAM exchange rate. And it doesn't say what it previously was, so I can't really tell if that's a nerf or that's an addition there as far as the Gridix plane. Where is that one? Gridix plane. We're not going to search for every one of these. Oh, it's right there. Crew training program now gives plus 5% spice production, balanced energy markets, and water trade. So yeah, water trade and energy markets, big nerf. So energy markets has been basically the backbone of everyone's economies. That's going to be a big change here. As you see, it goes from 0.4 down to 0.2 and 0.2 down to 1 as far as energy markets and water trade respectively. So big changes to energy markets and water trade. Underworld contracts now produces Heart of the Village's spice production if it has an underworld headquarter. Okay. Spice hegemony has been reworked. 10% rate down to 5%, but villages in the same region as an allied siege produces plus 10% resources. Honestly, I never like this mechanic, the like villages in the same region as an allied siege, because it could be very it's very luck based, right? Is there actually a siege nearby at your region that is actually going to be useful and help you? But I mean, they do end up being all over the map, but there's a certain amount of RNG that makes this either be very helpful or not helpful. Power compass. So I usually like to get this pretty early on. Has been nerfed. The speed and daily supply drain is going down 10%. So that's gonna be a change to that. I don't know. I didn't think that was like amazingly. I mean, I thought it was a good one, but I didn't think it was like abusive in any way. But I guess it's been nerfed. High command gives 1 armor to every unit instead of increasing the XP gain. So instead of, I guess, instead of the leveling up, it just gives them additional armor. So I guess it's kind of a buff your units early on, right? You just out of the gate will get that additional armor instead of like hoping the XP maybe gets you to the next level. Because some units may never level up in a conflict, right? Ground command, lower Solari upkeep of military units. I like that. Desert command now spawns a temporary unit. Oh, this one's really fun. Desert command spawns a temporary unit after liberating a village. I wonder what unit it is, but that sounds fun. So you maybe snowball your attacks and liberating? I don't know. It takes a while. Diplomatic maneuvers has been buffed from 5 Solari up to 10 Solari. So there we go. Nice little buff there. Negotiation tactics used to raise siege relation now increases Solari generation of agents on the CHOAM. So does it not do this anymore? Has this been changed, or is it just do that in addition? Can't really tell here from these patch notes. Sand diplomacy has been buffed. Plus 30% relation resources to plus 50%. Okay, that's a pretty big one. 20%. Which one was sand relations? That is I think it's this one. Did it say sand negotiations? Or sand diplomacy? Not sure. Sand diplomacy. Okay, sand diplomacy. I just don't know how to read. So that's a late game one, so it should be a pretty sizable buff. Sandwalk Mastery has been reworked and now gives control of deep deserts if it's... Okay, this is cool. I'm very curious to see how this is going to work. The Desert Mastery. Okay, so that's going to be the one... it's always fun searching for these. I wish there was like a searchable UI. Maybe I should make a little React app for that. I already forgot what I was looking for. It is the Desert Mastery. Where is it? Desert mastery, spying mastery, diplomacy, desert mastery. I am struggling to find it. I'm sure I'm staring at it. You guys know how it goes. Anyways, now gives control of deep deserts if it's surrounded by zones you owned by your faction. So, does that mean you can just walk through the deep deserts for free? Do you have to have a complete surround on it, or just have like adjacent? It says if it's surrounded by zones you own. That sounds like some of those deserts are really big. Like I find that to be unlikely a scenario, but if it's in the middle of your base, I guess you can own the desert. So get yourself a desert real estate. Fieldwork has been renamed to Riches of Arrakis. Oh, pillage-related developments have been reworked. Okay, it doesn't really say. Resource deficits. Influence deficit reduces Landsraad votes. Influence deficit reduces Landsraad votes instead of making you lose Landsraad standing. Oh, okay. So if you've got that, it looks like instead of losing Landsraad standing, you're going to have just less votes overall. Interesting. Command point deficit now only increases. Now, I'm a little bit confused. Influence deficit. How do you go influence deficit? Is that when you're like nuking people and stuff? You go negative, like that type of influence? That must be what that is. Or does that include like when you miss your taxes? Trying to remember what influence deficit. Command point deficit now only increases unit Solari upkeep instead of all upkeep, as well as lowering the unit's power. Okay, so it's going to make them more expensive in Solari instead of all of their upkeep, as well as lower them. Okay. Now only increases the upkeep. So instead, your units aren't going to get weaker and cost more. Now they're just going to cost more, essentially, if you have the deficit command points. So maybe people who have extra money, you could afford to have a deficit of units, right? Maybe you could afford to get away with that, right? If you got the money in the bank, maybe. I don't know. That could change some stuff. Now, you can't just train extra units over command points, but you could, like, move some stuff, shuffle some stuff around, or buy those extra mercenaries, right? Interesting. Sandworms take longer to appear. Thank you. They, like, attack at the speed of light. Balanced worm attacks. Military units detect the worms faster than harvesters. How much faster, I wonder? Ornithopters are even faster at detecting incoming worm attacks. So I guess that means if you're observing your or supervising your harvesters, you have an even better chance at maybe escaping. But yeah, sandworms attacks have been pretty brutal recently. Landsraad, all factions start with less influence. Pariah status is extended up to 50 standing. Minor houses have less votes. Better balance for the water seller unions. That was one of those like council positions you could get. 2 Solari gain instead of 1 per water. Wait, what? 2 Solari gained instead of 1 per water. Okay, so that's a buff, right? The water seller union has been buffed. You get additional Solari. Reworked architectural surveys resolution. Okay, so that's the one that would disable like your main base, right? Now affects missile batteries and the main base, but both of them have their power lowered instead of not attacking at all. So now it sounds like your base will still attack, it just won't do as much damage. So that's gonna make it a little harder to just use architectural surveys and then snipe a player's main base, right? Better balance of Imperial intelligence resolution. Okay, the Dune Governor win condition time has been slightly increased. Allow for 2 Landsraad voting phases. Thank you. Yeah, it could be really fast. Add a reminder whenever a faction has the Dune governorship charter. So a nice little reminder, so you don't just like, oops, surprise, lost the game because someone was governor and you didn't notice it. So they added a nice little UI update here. I like that they use these, include these screen caps. The Dune governor charter now increases the influence cap and produces 2 influence. Okay, so it gives you additional influence if you're the governor. Now has priority over other charters if all conditions for appearing are fulfilled. So you're more likely to be able to get elected, it sounds like, to the Dune governor if you are within those requisites. Improved AI voting regarding corruptions and Landsraad access. Okay, pillaging villages. Pillaging villages provide less Solari and cost more authority to annex the village afterwards. Okay, this sounds like a nerf to smugglers to me, who really like to pillage early and often, right? You're going to get less Lari out of it, and it's going to cost you even additional authority to annex later. Now, if you don't plan to annex it, not a big deal. And the pillaging takes more time, so... I don't know. I feel like it takes a decent amount of like focus to actually pull off a lot of pillaging. And also now, if you're like trying to pillage an enemy base, that's going to take a lot more time and give your enemy more time to react. Maybe it was too fast before, but yeah, this is going to be a significant change. It doesn't say how much time, so I don't know. Councilors. Okay, counselor skills now have names. Okay, so a lot of changes to the counselors here, and I'm going to... I actually recognize some of these names since I started reading the book, which is funny, even in the first 2 chapters. Robin no longer increases the length of the oppression ability, and militias now have a power malice. A power malice. I don't know what that word means. Power malice. What is malice? To Google we go. A financial penalty incurred by a trader, investor, or banker in investment or deal. Okay, a financial penalty. Okay. Interesting. And let's just now have a... I don't know if that's exactly what that means. I don't know. I'm not clear. I'll have to go back to English class, I guess. Peter, devise stealth drones and ornithopters. 1 to 2 intel gain. So that's a little bit of a buff. Icon to food. Combat drug missions costs... It looks like it's going to be buffed 60% cheaper instead of 50%. And also a higher refund. Oh my gosh. That is a pretty nice... buff there. That is for the that's for the Harkonnen. Drisk agents no longer all have the merchant trait, but instead ornithopters move and recon faster. I like a good little ornithopter boost every once in a while. Banerjee gain more resources as well as 4 authority from pillaging. And then Lady Jessica, that'll be for their tradies. Forced treaty now actually forces the treaty. Okay, because before you get paid to deny it, I guess. The cost and influence is higher and increases every time you use it within the same faction. So I guess you just can't keep punishing the same person with forced treaties. But now I don't think they're going to have the option to decline it by paying it. It sounds like from what I see there. Okay, the multiplayer improved lobby list. So not usually a whole lot of lobbies in the first place, right? There's usually only like a handful, but they have improved it, improved the UI. Multiplayer has been great. I've enjoyed the update. New multiplayer mode, Canley, faster 1v1 game. So I might need to check that out. A faster 1v1 game could be interesting. Also, wait longer before replacing a player after disconnect. Allies can see the progression bar of an ally Atreides peaceful annexation. Allies can see sieges discovered by other allies. They can see ally smuggler underworld HQs as well as buildings, and they can also see ally Fremen siege settlement. So a lot of line of sight changes there for if you're playing team games, it sounds like. Others, Deep Desert and the Desolation are now less harsh. Thank you. It is like you look away for a second and it's like your whole army just died out in the Desolation or whatever, the Deep Desert. So like I like there be a little bit of play. Like sure, it should be a penalty if you're going to go into those Deep Desert or Desolation, but maybe you could afford to like take a risk or an opportunity cost, right? 1.2 times movement speed is now available in the game. So before this was just a setting, right, for the multiplayer lobbies, but it looks like now you can toggle 1.2 speed, which is a very nice speed to play the game. I think is like should be the default. It's really nice. Tier 3 building districts have been changed for the Fremen. Main base districts take less time to build. Voice lines, okay. UI stuff. Karthik and Siege Tabar, visual effects, chemical grenade visual. So just quality of life things. There you go. Ooh, I honestly can't remember what it looked like before, but I'm sure this looks better. Alert sound reworked. So that one actually, I would be interested to hear what that is, because those alerts can really, there could be a lot of them going on, right? So you don't want them to become numb to them. So you get very small tweaks to alerts can make a big difference. Okay, there is a slew of bug fixes, and I'm not going to read through these. All I can say is congratulations to the dev team for just continuing to push out so many amazing quality of life. I'm just going to skim this to see if there's anything that stands out to me, though. Behavior intact from far away, resolution not working, potential server issues, spying missiles. Okay, and they didn't provide any merge displaying. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. I'm sure maybe there's some bugs that I'd be interested in here, but you know, you can read this at a leisure. I'll leave the link to this down in the comment section. Okay, guys, so there it is, Dune Spice Wars. Of course, I'm sure you already have it if you made it this far in this video, but it's $29.99 on Steam. I've got my review on the channel, so if you're trying to get a buddy to pick up Dune to play, go send them my review. It's my latest Dune video I've uploaded. And as always, leave me comments below. Let me know what you think about all these changes. Join my Discord. I've got a link down in the description. I've got individual channels for each of the factions. So if you want to strategize with a specific faction, you can do so and talk to other Dune players. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one.